this world is such a and when I say this world, I mean it. I don't mean in the ideal sense. I mean in every day, every little thing you do. It's such a gimme. Everybody back off. Everybody's like, you taught that from school, everywhere. Big business. You want to be successful. You want to be like Trump. Gimme. Push. Step. Crush. That's how it all is. And it's like, nobody ever stopped. Just, I feel like, instead of us just being like, slavery's bad, bad whitey. I mean, all right, let's stop that. And everybody's smart enough to know that, we've been slighted. And we want ours. And I don't mean by like ours, 40 acres and a mule, because we're past that. But we need help. For us to be on our own 2 feet, us meaning youth or us meaning black people, whatever you want to take it for us to be on our own 2 feet, we do need help. Because we have been here. We have been a good friend. If you want to make it a relationship type thing, we have been there, and now we deserve our payback. It's like you got a friend that you don't never look out for. You dressed up in jewels. Now America's got jewels, and they paid and everything, and they lending money to everybody except us. And it's like, everybody need a little help on their way to being, self-reliant. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing about the album, about the Special Olympics. Everybody need a little something to be independent. No independent person just grew up and was born independent. You worked and you learned teamwork and you learned cooperation and unity and struggle, and then you became independent. And we have to teach that and instill that. And why is it that they want to do that? If this is truly a melting pot in the country where we care about it, and Lady Liberty got a hand like this, she really loves us, then we really need to be like that. And it needs to be the black kids. If there's a white person who got money, then you need to help them. You need to help black kids, Mexican kids, Korean kids, whatever. But it needs to be real. And it need to be before we all die, and then you say, I made a mistake. We should have gave them some money. We really should have helped these folks. It's going to be too late. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when you got to pay your own karma. And that's when God make you punish. When God punishes you. Because I feel like, it's too much money here. Nobody should be hitting lotto for $36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic. That's just real. That is just stupid. There's no way Michael Jackson should have, or whoever Jackson, should have $1,000,000 billion and then there's people starving. There's no way. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants.
Good morning. That's going to explain these shades. Because Jesus, the bags be heavy in the morning. And I don't have any lashes. I didn't bother to comb my hair. Yeah, this thing. But at any rate, listen. If you know the Militant Midget, then you know that Tupac is not dead. At least as far as I'm concerned. And you also would have to know, if you know anything about Tupac, is that he was a smart ass dude, period. Like, just go back, just do some research. So all of that being said, listen, I think it is my responsibility because I'm at least attempting to make a difference in my kids' life, right? The kids that I come in contact with, or before TCP, nieces, nephews, everybody, right? Because I think that the thing that we can do is make a difference. The thing that we can do is raise awareness. Eventually, if you make enough noise, somebody's going to hear you, right? If you knock on the door so long, somebody's eventually going to open it, right? So all of that being said, listen, the Super Bowl is this Sunday, and I'm a football fan, probably about as bad about football as I am about Tupac, right? And so anyways, I'm watching the championship game couple weeks ago between Kansas City and Tennessee, right? And Kansas City won because I wanted them to win, right? That's why they want to know. Just kidding. But so anyway, so I'm watching them. So if you don't know, the LeVar, the trophy, the championship trophy, comes from the Hunt family, who owns the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And so we'll start with the father, because I'm pretty sure the lineage goes a little deeper than that, but we'll start with the father, right? So what happened was the father, this was his team, He had 4 kids, so they win the championship game. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're on the podium. They're giving out, trophies. And I'm looking. The dad died like a couple years ago, right? And so, but he's got 4 kids, right? So the 4 kids hit the stage, and I'm looking at 4 kids who didn't have to go to college, didn't have to take up a trade, didn't have to get a loan from a bank, didn't have to do anything. They were born into it. They were born into wealth. This is generational wealth. So now we see these 4 a couple weeks ago, but there's probably, let's just say each one of them has 1 kid. There's 4 more that comes behind them, and then there's going to be 4 more that comes behind them, and then there's going to be 4. So this is generational wealth, right? So this is what I see when I'm looking at the trophy. And again, I think it's my responsibility to see these things. I don't charge my kids up about this. I do charge them up about when I give them the information that they do something with it, that they do their due diligence, right? I'll lead the pack. So that being said, you see this on that Sunday, and I know, I was caught in a moment too because my team won, and Super Bowl, it's a bittersweet kind of deal because it's the end of the season, but it's the biggest game, biggest show on earth, right? But yeah, so that thing, and so when you hear Tupac say, hey, there's no reason for there to be millions of dollars in one spot, and it's not circulating. There's no reason to continue to I don't know what your earnings have to be before you start to think about the other people that are going to come underneath you. The homelessness, the people out here who don't have jobs, the people out here who just need a little bit of help, the people out here who don't have food. Um, all of those things should be important to not just us, not just those of us who don't have the millions, who are trying to make those differences too, but to the people that do. It is an unfair thought, if nothing else, um, to sit up and sit on millions. And Kobe Bryant was killed on Sunday. I'm going to do a podcast on that. But one of the first things that I said to my husband was, um, you know, $500 million just died with Kobe, right? You can tell us that, yeah, he was doing things with his daughter's basketball team. He was trying to work with WNBA players, that thing. All of that's beautiful. It really is. You hear about schools being formed in low income areas. I have a thing about that too. If I pay taxes wherever I live, which we all do, I think that my kids or my neighbor's kids deserve the exact same education that everybody else is getting. Like I don't think that you have to open up individual schools for that. I think that the public school system owes that to us. That is our tax money too. We need banks. We need banks. We need, and Martin started this. Martin started it before he passed away, and probably was, well, he didn't pass away, he was murdered, but it was probably one of the real reasons why they murdered him was because he was starting to see that perhaps he had misled us some, right? When we started wanting to sit at the counters of the white establishments, we walked away from our own counters because you have to understand something. Back in those times, from what I understand, our people had stores and we had resources and we spent money in our communities because we weren't welcome in other communities, right? Our money didn't spend the same in their communities. Well, when we fought for that, we in essence killed off our own businesses, right? That alongside of the fact, if you hear Tupac, listen, nobody started from nothing and came up. I just showed you the Hunt family. That's going to be generation after generation after generation. It's never going to be um, a soup kitchen family. You get what I'm saying? They're always going to have soup, right? Um, you cannot say to someone who has nothing that they should be able to make something out of it, right? I believe that things happen just the way they're supposed to. I believe there's some of us that are luckier than others, right? Um, but yeah, we need banks, man. We need to come into the inner cities, and not just mines, but all of them. We need people with wealth, with power, to lend some of some of our people, some of the people that aren't born into it. You know what I'm saying? That didn't come out the womb with a football team and keys to a Bentley, right? Um, we got to redirect ourselves. We got to redirect our focus. Listen, Tupac's been dead, goodness, 20 some years, I think. So they say, right? He was talking this then. You know, this is how we already started in a deficit, but this is how far back we still are. Like, I love the schools. Um, I love the stories. I love the whatever whatever makes you feel good. I love the little philanthropy. I love the showing up. Extending your celebrity, but we've got to start putting better resources in our communities for our people. Period. There's no other way. Nothing is going to be fixed, and I think it's selfish. And I think he said it. I think it's self-centered. I think it's not American. I don't. How does Kobe Bryant die with $500 million net worth? So they say it's probably more than that. Even if it's less than that, give me a break. But and you are like feuding with your parents and talking about your sisters. They should have jobs. I mean, I listen. People can worry the hell out of you if they think you got $6 more than them. Your ass gonna get stalked, right? I get that. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is most of what you hear about Kobe, and that's another video, is that he had invested in this and he'd invested in that, and so he's investing in making more money. But where is the investment in the people that come after you? You understand what I'm saying? Where is your legacy? Is only what you did and how you set up and made your family great, right? I don't know. But anyways, let's listen to some more Tupac. You guys stay tuned. This is the Militant Midget podcast.
If they earned it, then I think that's good, and I think that they deserve it. But even if you earned it, you still owe. Because look at me, I don't have that mega money, but I feel guilty walking by somebody. I got to give them some mail. And if I know I got $3,000 in my pocket, I feel like it's wrong to give that person a quarter or a dollar. It's wrong. Only you know what you got in your pocket. And that's wrong. No matter what they do, if they take it and drink it, they take it and drink it. But I mean, you got. You understand? And we all know how hard it is, and it's not about if you good or you bad. So since it's not about if you good or you bad, we know that because he don't got don't mean he was bad. Or don't mean he's a criminal, or don't mean he's crazy or a drug addict, or none of that. It just means he don't got. And ain't it bad that you got 30? I mean, can you imagine somebody having $32 million? 32 million, and this person has nothing, and you can sleep. You can still go to the movies and then these are the type of people that get humanitarian awards. Millionaires. How can they be humanitarians? By the fact that they millionaires and there's so many poor people shows how unhumane they are. You know what I'm saying? And that bugs me. Not saying that when I'm never going to be rich, and you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying it's a struggle, and I think everybody deserves it. And I think there's a way to pay these people. I think there is a way. It just takes to be revolutionary. And it takes to do something out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that if we just said, okay, I got an idea. No more porno buildings. You know what I'm saying? Let's build houses. Or no more polo games. Let's build houses for poor people. You know what I'm saying? Or, look, okay, I know you're rich. I know you got $40 billion. But can you just keep it to one house? You only need one house. And if you only got 2 kids, can you just keep it to 2 rooms? I mean, why have 52 rooms and you know there's somebody with no room? It just don't make sense to me. It don't. And then these people celebrate Christmas. They got big trees, huge trees, all the little trimmings. Everybody got gifts, and then somebody's starving. And they're having a white Christmas. They're having a great Christmas, eggnog and the whole nine. That's not fair to me.
Back, Militant Midget Podcast. Look, we've got to do better. Um, and even for some of our athletes. Listen, what our kids seen a couple Sundays ago and what I seen, I guarantee you, were two different pictures. What our kids seen was you've got to pad up. You got to go get your brains knocked out, from one side of your head to the other side of your head, just in order to have some of the American dream, right? That's not, it's not right. Like, I get the sacrifice, you know what I'm saying? But once we've made the sacrifice, and we made the sacrifice over and over and over again, but what it turned into was not sacrifice, what it turned into was selfishness. Because these athletes know, just like the musicians know, just like uh, whoever. And I only mentioned Kobe because he passed away this week. But trust me, there are a million of them out there. We got to get these kids some finance classes. You can't take an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid out of college if they go and put them on the street and give them a $20 million contract, which, first of all, they don't even understand how to read a $20 million contract. There's no such thing. Basically, you probably won't even see most of that money, and that's on the low side, right? That's a budget. That's I don't know. But that thing, these kids don't really understand. They didn't see that we're up here, we're giving out trophies to these guys who are working for this man's kids, working for their wealth, working for the trophy named after their families. You get what I'm saying? Like, come on, come on. They didn't have to do anything on Sunday. They had box seats. They were warm. You know what I'm saying? They had hot food delivered to them. It's not fair. It's not right, and we've got to do something to change it. Um, Listen, I got a million ideas. I'm pretty sure some of you do too. Let's start getting together. Let's start working together. Let's start coming up with some things. Let's do better, right? We can't leave these kids in the same situation. That's not we've served no purpose in. This is the Militant Midget Podcast. Consider what I've said today. Talk to your kids, man. Make them see the other side of it. Some of these rappers need to, you know what I'm saying? Listen, stop. I'm not saying that you don't deserve. Listen, anything that I want that I can afford, I'm going to get. Don't get that part twisted. But I'm going to tell you exactly what it took to get it. And not only am I going to tell you, I'm going to show you. I'm going to outwork just about anybody that you put in my path. Why? Because it takes work. Like our kids feel way too entitled too. We've got to understand that they've got to put in the work. I get that. We've got to do better ourselves. I get that. In order for anybody, Kobe, anybody else, in order for us to come to them and ask them to invest in us as a whole, or the community as a whole, or ask for even the white people to invest in us, we've got to show ourselves worthy, right? I'm with Tupac though. I think that we have. I think that we've built up. I think that we've done everything. I think that we've been really good friends. I think that we've sat back and we've waited our time when it is our time, right? Again, Militant Midget Podcast. Tune in. I'm going to do a whole podcast on Kobe. I don't necessarily think that a lot of you guys will agree, but that's okay. Thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.